first thing you need to do is to determine for yourself what thriving at work means to you. And increasingly in the days that we're entering, in the shifts that we're seeing in the workplace, I mean, before, if you had asked someone 10, 15 years ago what thriving at workplace would look like, it would have included getting to the point where they have their own official driver who takes them to work every day and makes their life that much easier. And of course, that's also inclusive of like a social symbol, a sign of prestige, a sign that you're moving up. Not so these days, right? Thriving will be control over a timetable, getting to work more from home than the office. So, as time shifts, depending on the nature of your career that you're building, depending on what your life's purpose is and how that is connected to what you're doing to earn money, and the fact that these days people are earning money in multiple places, so you have different sources of income, and all connect to your life purpose in varying degrees, right? The point is that there are lots of factors that add up to what thriving looks like for you. So the very first thing I want you to take away from this session is that in this year 2026, we're still in Q1. A lot of us are still kind of trying to design what our lives will look like in 2026, what our life systems that will support that life vision would look like in 2026 are. And of course, how 2026 would be a year that would match up to the lives that we are building for the rest of our lives. While we're all still in that space, one of the things that I would want you to walk away with this session is, what does thriving at work mean to me? Okay, and design that alongside. And so for me, think about thriving at work like thinking about how you want to thrive at life. So treat work like you would treat life. And in fact, there's no distinction for me, because work sucks up the majority of your life, not only on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis. Think about your years, right? It actually even sucks up more of your life than education does, because you know what, we thought, oh, you go to primary school, you go to secondary school, you go to university, that's a huge chunk of your time. But work sucks up way more. Think about how many years you're going to spend working. And if you are doing your main employment and then maybe your life's purpose, so you may be working with ASF, but you think sorry, excuse me, but you think you also, you have a thing for fashion, and on the side with your sister or anybody else, you're running a fashion outfit. Think about cumulatively how much of your life, when I say your life, I'm not just talking about time, I'm talking about also your life resources. So think about your mental energy, your emotional energies, your financial energies, your time resource, how much of that it is sapping, or it is utilizing, or how much you allocate to that. So to not now think about work the same way you're being very intentional, very prayerful, you're investing in other areas of life. To not do the same at work, you'll be doing yourself a disservice. Work is also the engine that drives all those other parts of your life. So, oh, I need to earn a good income because I want to be able to take care of my family, whether your direct family in terms of you're married and you have children, or your what would now be your extended family, your parents, your siblings, your aunties, your uncles, whatever the case may be. So if you kind of associate your life with that who would I become analogy, and life for you is about becoming. I'll become richer, I'll become healthier, I'll become more wise, I'll become more successful, whatever becoming journey you are on in life. You also need to be thinking about your becoming journey when you're at work. And so for me, that is the very first thing I need to tell you. And it is from that perspective that I say, look, don't take my list as the list and you go and hold it up and you you decide that this is the advice for 2026. I mean, if it does that for you, then I'll be very, very happy to hear that. But more so, what I'm saying to you is that you must be in the driver's seat and be intentional about your becoming journey, workplace edition. and based on who you want to become when it comes to work, now go and begin to create the principles, the protocols, the areas of discipline, the areas of growth, the areas of discovery that will help you actually achieve that picture you have set before you. Okay? But as you consider, may I submit these things to you? That 4 things guaranteed that if you do apply them would help you to thrive in the place of work. It will be, first of all, to stay competent, to own your genius, to try and fail forward. In fact, I just did not want to be negative. As I said, fail a lot, but try. Make sure you are actually trying. And it's okay to fail, but fail forward. And the final thing is to manage your boss. So there are quite little things, and some of them are quite obvious things. It may not be the first time you're hearing them. But the thing is that they compound over time. So while we've started off this session talking from a perspective of looking into the future, how are you going to intentionally design and take steps to sort of land it a bit even harder? Look to the past. Think about your 2025. We all started the year with goals, but think about how 2025 actually turned out for you. And you will see that you can, if you spend enough time reflecting, you can map how your 2025 turned out down to what you did every day and how that brought you to the end of 2025 and thus the 2025 that you had. So we're going to be covering things that you just need to turn into habits, right? I had mentioned a life design system. Yes, you have to be thinking in your picture of thrive. Things have to get to the level of the tiny things that you would do, almost on autopilot, that don't really require that much effort. There are things you would do that require a lot of effort. You would invest heavily in it. You would go and pay for XYZ program or pay for XYZ conference or get into a mentoring relationship with a senior colleague that will require you to just max out your weekends, and you're not sleeping as much because you're spending midnight hours, significantly building a skill. Yes, but a lot of times we like those high intensity interventions that will just, make us feel we've done something really big and we see immediate changes from it. But I submit to you that actually the changes in life that matter come from the very little things, the things that are actually habits. Okay, so simple ideas, but they compound over time. So what stay competent? What does that mean? Competence, we can use the working definition for the purposes of this conversation to say doing good work consistently and getting better over time. Right? For me, the ability to consistently do good work and keep improving your ability to do that work. So every output that you have is good. And over time, there's improvement, whether it is in the depth of the thinking, whether it is in the quality of the output. So if I do something for you, it'll be on Word. It'll be nicely arranged. It'll be coherent. It'll be logical. It'll be easy to read, but it's Word. And then over time, I'm not able to move my ideas to PowerPoint and presenting my ideas in PowerPoint a bit more concise, a bit more easier to digest, some visual elements added, still not the best. But over time, I'm able to now move to Gamma AI or even still stay in PowerPoint or move to Canva, and I'm able to now express my ideas a bit more visually, connect the dots with images, whatever the case may be. But consistently improving your ability to do the work. So competence for me, how I personally like to define it, is knowledge, skills, abilities. That's what the KSA on my screen stands for. All right. Knowledge, skills, abilities. Intentional growth over time when it comes to the knowledge you have, both in terms of how wide your knowledge is and of course how deep your knowledge is. Intentional growth over time as to the skills that you have and what you can do. in and outside of work, because it requires the same energy, right? And again, we're thinking about our lives. We're not just thinking about work. So don't treat your life as or your work rather as unconnected to your life. If you're building new skills in a realm that for you think sits outside of life, it will definitely show up at work. So let's say you say in your social circle, or you want to be a bit more social, you want to have quality relationships with family members, with friends, with people in your community groups like church or whatever, right? If you increase your relational intelligence and you increase your relational mastery, you would only go on to have better relationships at work. And until the day we stop working with human beings and it's only us and AI and computers that are working, as long as you're still working with human beings in the workplace, you having great relational mastery would only serve you better. As long as you're working with human beings, the need to know how to cultivate great relationships would always be very key. And in fact, the higher up you go in your career, the more it becomes about human relationships and the less about your own work and what you can produce, right? Because the moment you hit managerial level, it becomes less of the work that you press your laptop to get. It now becomes how well you're able to manage other people's work and be responsible for other people's outcomes. And you can't go and do the work for them. They must be doing their work. So it now becomes a relationship matter. You become a manager, it also becomes a relationship matter with your boss, because where before the relationship was just I receive instruction, I make sure I get the task done to the best of my ability. As you are now yourself responsible for business outcomes, it becomes how well do I understand the person I need to report to, how well they think, how well they're visioning for this organization, how they are thinking about the plans we need to work on together, because now no longer give me instruction, I execute. We are now actually working together. And so there must be, when I say relationship in the workplace, you must not be best friends, but there must be a good relationship. There must be a certain level of understanding, right? And knowing each other to be able to work together for the good of the business and the joint things that you need to do. So intentional growth over time in your skills and the variety of skills, especially human-based skills. And then, of course, abilities, intentional growth over time on abilities. And so you say to yourself, well, how do we stay competent? This looks like all the things I had said earlier. So how many courses am I taking this year? How many books am I reading this year? I will go and be learning how to use AI every day now from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Well, do those things if you have an immediate and significant learning curve to go on. If the gap is so huge, you want to be doing those high investment, high intensity, immediate results kind of things. But for me, I would say, well, no, you have to think about it as your life's journey. What's the system that is going to keep you learning forever? Because you have to be learning forever, right? For anybody who thought they had hit, their learning curve, AI is making all of us relearn things. It's a learn or just go out, right? Learn and just nicely see yourself become obsolete. So if you're going to be learning constantly, I'll talk a bit more about that. But let me just go back to how to stay competent. Number one, learn constantly. You need to. Number two, sharpen your natural strength. This is what I call sharpen your genius. And then from sharpening your genius, you move on to owning your genius. And the final thing is that you need to curate your exposure. And I'm going to go into all of these three things. So the takeaway here is that for you to thrive, whatever pictures of thriving you have, there's an element of success attached to it. Oh, I want to be successful at whatever it is that I am doing. If you are going to be successful, you have to be competent, right? You're doing good things consistently over time. People have a certain measure of trust. If I come and take anything from you, this is the standard and quality I'll receive consistently over time. And then, of course, there are improvements. For you to be competent, you cannot create from an empty shelf. And with the way the world works, right, you're not always going to have that time to um figure things out, improve, learn before you have to deliver, right? The world of work is such that a thing will just hit you from nowhere. Is what I call good problems, and what I call answers to prayers. You're praying for more clients because you want to earn more revenue for the company, and you get a call at 4:55 p.m. to jump on a call with a client where a client is asking you, I need XYZ, can you provide it? The call is happening now. The client wants to be able to take the decision now, right? You don't have enough time to say, you know what, let me reschedule this call for tomorrow morning. Then you now spend the night reading up about them, understanding their business, knowing what they need, knowing how you can meet it, and then you now give them an answer on the spot. So you have to stay competent. It's that whole thing of stay ready so that you don't have to get ready, right? So you can't create from an empty shelf. A lot of the big moves we see people making, and we think these people are just they just came to heaven like that, right? These people are just natural geniuses. They just pull ideas out of their mind. It doesn't work that way. I mean, there's still miracles happening in the world. There's still favor, there's still divine inspiration, there's still innovation, but a lot of these things come from minds that are think about it like muscles, right? Well trained muscles that are always being used. Or think about them like a factory floor that is always processing things. What am I trying to say here? What image am I trying to paint to your mind? Is that minds that are always learning, minds that have owned their genius and are constantly sharpening it, minds that know what they expose themselves to, always have enough to be able to pull things together and make up something new. Okay? So that's what I mean by an empty shelf. Keep yourself sharp, keep yourself full. So that when you're faced with something unprecedented, you have things to pull. How do they say it? From the known to the unknown. Yes. At the end of the day, your solutions will always come from things known. And sometimes it may not be tangible. It may not be, oh, I've seen this thing somewhere else before, therefore we can't do it. It may just be the thing of, this thing cannot be that impossible now. I'm sure we can figure this thing out. And that comes from years of figuring things out, years of seeing people do amazing things. So even when you're faced with something that truly, truly, this thing has never existed in the world before, your mind is so open to possibilities because your mind is full of competent stuff. But let me quickly move on, right, to what competence requires. So I've said the first thing, be a constant learner. You know, your degree may have got you into the room, or past experience, or just knowledge you have, or just your personality, whatever got you into the room, right? Learning keeps you in the room and, of course, opens the door of other rooms to you. And I was saying that it will be great to do all the high investment things, burning the midnight oil, but you can do simple things. Just read things like reading industry news, following global trends, understanding what your organization actually does, asking good questions, right? Just remain curious. Anything that you see that comes across your way, go a little bit more into it. Go out of your way to learn something. So you're listening to your colleague in another department or who's facing another project. Just talk about the project. Ask questions. Honestly, the knowledge does nothing for you in the now. But down the line, you may be thinking about, and you may be faced with your own project, and you hit a challenge and you're just thinking of how to do it. And then that's when you now remember that your colleague was doing a project where they faced a challenge that looks similar, and here's what they did. And then you apply that and you see it actually works. So stay curious, stay open, just keep your I want to say nets, right? Just keep your mind open. the world that is around you and taking things. I want to link that to curating your exposure because it is very much linked. And for me, the example I give is my LinkedIn, right? I can't go past 3 posts on my LinkedIn without saving one of those posts. Because over time, I have been intentional to say, who am I following? Who are the thought leaders in my space? So I'm in executive management, so I follow a lot of business leaders who talk about business leadership. The foundation of my career is HR, so I follow a lot of global HR thought leaders and people who are actually shaping how HR is done in the world. Um, I co-found Kryptr, so when we were just starting off, following lots of people who also knew a lot about startups, etc., right? So if I open my LinkedIn to just do some quick catch up, lazy reading, check a message, whatever, I have immediately gotten world-class irreplaceable knowledge about all the things that concern all the areas of my work life that I am currently faced with. That's just one angle. The second angle is that I have also gotten things that I am not yet currently dealing with, but I'm probably going to encounter. And I already have insight and wisdom for when those things happen. Because I'm listening to people who are a few steps ahead of me, or people who are running bigger businesses than I am, or people who are dealing with talent problems at a larger scale. And they are saying, here's what we see happening. So instead of me doing my own research or waiting until I find the problem, I'm just taking from the wisdom of somebody. Like, it's like somebody's experiencing it for me ahead of time on my behalf, telling me what it looks like, telling me what to do. So when I need to jump on a random call that was unplanned with a client and I'm hearing their talent development issues, and I'm able to immediately respond. Sometimes I pause myself and I realize, hang on, I saw an article on Monday. The week before, I watched this business leader talking about XYZ. Those things just nicely line up in your brain and present you with wisdom for the day, wisdom for the hour to be able to pass across. Same thing with my Instagram. LinkedIn and Instagram are the only two social platforms I would really use. I don't really do the Twitters or the X's or anything else as much. But the point is, even my newsletters, right, that enter my email. So the point is, creating your exposure says you are with work, with life, with the different dimensions of life. And I encourage you to also take these things outside of your work life, apply them outside, right? The point is that you operate in environments, and the things that you are exposed to within those environments shape your thinking, shape your becoming journey. So don't just experience it and now begin to be shifting out the good, uh, canceling and binding the bad, working against the bad. You can dictate what happens around you. So what are you reading? What are you watching? Who do you follow? What conversations happen around you before you even start saying what conversations you engage in? What are you paying attention to? Are you paying attention to how decisions are made? Are you paying attention to how the recommendations that actually pass and get approved, how were they presented? What language was used? It's not just, oh no, certain people just carry that grace. Oh no, this person is well liked. Oh no, this person knows a lot about this. Therefore, pay attention, right? Pay attention to how your leaders are thinking. Pay attention to how your clients are behaving, thinking. Pay attention to what is shaping your industry. So you are going to get exposed to things, and the things you get exposed to amount for a lot of what your life will become. It would amount. It's the thing that would let you frame your possibilities mindset. So if you come from a place, or if you're exposed to a place where not a lot of things are possible, as much as you may want to be living a different life, that's your starting point. you have a harder time than somebody who's been in, who's lived a life where everything is possible. And so, I mean, for us, or for some of us, a lot of our let's plan properly, let's be cautious, let's order things and organize things may just be a lack of a possibilities mindset. Somehow, deep within you, you don't really think this thing is possible. But the moment you begin to surround yourself with people who say, what is it? This life, what is it? It's not that deep. Let's do it, and we'll just do it. And I don't know if you've ever come across people like that. Me, I'm more of a planner. I'm more of a want to be able to see the end before I do it. And then when I get around people who just act like as if this life is not even serious at all, it stresses me a little. But over time, I've seen there's something there, right? And this is kind of linked to my next point as well. But it starts with, intentionally thinking about how am I designing my life, my work life? What am I surrounding myself with? Just being in the right environment will grow you faster than somebody who is taking courses. Because that I took the course does not mean I really, first of all, was present while I was taking the course. And it doesn't mean that I'll apply what I'm learning. But if you're in a place where the types of conversations that people have are quality conversations, great thinking, well informed, you will transform without you even knowing. Has more value. So for this, I want you to to know that you don't need extraordinary effort a lot of the times. You just need to stay intellectually awake. Just be awake, intellectually and otherwise, right, to what it is that you are surrounding yourself with. So train your algorithms, train your environment to keep you ready and to feed you with ideas. Own your genius, sharpen it. Competence is doing the work well, great. But there is a you in the equation that is unlike anybody else. And there are things that come easily and naturally to you. And I have a resource at the end of um, this session that I will share with you that you would read through, and that would just better explain this point than I can, right? But again, it's something like I mentioned to you, I'm hitting a significant work milestone. I have 15 plus years of working. This is something that in the last 2 years keeps on coming back to me. I'm like, no, I have a unique insight. And when I say unique, I don't mean it's special and it's higher than. It's just I have a way I look at things that is just the way I look at things. And honestly, it has helped me a lot in my career. And when I see, and because I started noticing the way that I look at things that maybe somebody else doesn't readily see, I have now begun to notice the way in which my colleagues, the perspective they come from when it comes to things. There's a particular colleague that I'm very thankful for. I've worked with her for the longest in my life, and we ended up co-founding Kryptr together, right? And for me, I cannot quantify the value of the perspective that she brings anytime we're working together. So I come from my angle, she comes from her angle. Together, we just deliver the thing. So you are you. And your experiences, your upbringing, your personality, the way you think, the things you're interested in, how you learn, what you like to learn about, provides a unique lens that is needed in the organization. We should not all be the same. Before I even start saying we cannot all be the same, we should not all be the same. So everybody has a natural thing that comes easy to them that they do well. Other people can do it, but they may just need to work harder at it than you do. For me, I can see patterns and my brain will analyze something quicker than maybe someone else. And so because I can see patterns, I'm able to say, no, organize the work this way. Because if you do this thing, you would have ended up attacking 1, 2, 3 at the same time. You save stress, not a lot of effort, but your results will be impactful in 3 ways. My colleague she knows how to get straight to the heart of the matter and get the most impactful thing done. Do you see? So own your genius, because everybody can be competent, but not everybody can be you. There are problems in this world. There's a value, there's an impact in this world that you are the one who is designed to just solve the problems. You're the one who's designed to deliver that value. Right? Everybody has their portion in this life. And I think we tend to forget that in the professional space, because we're often running towards a certain goal that we don't take the time to pause and say, no, this is me. And so that's why I started off with, look, you know what, what's your picture of thriving? What's your vision of thrive? And if it is your vision, that would help you to center the you and who you need to become, but also the unique value that you bring in the picture. And that's very important. So yes, own your genius, but remember to listen to others. Remember to test your idea. Remember to refine your thinking. Remember to close your blind spots. But when we say we want you to contribute in the workplace, we're saying bring you to work. Okay? And quickly moving to trying and failing forward. Careers grow through thoughtful courage, right? So I was talking about trying and failing forward, right? And I was saying, okay, so we have ideas. We have some things that, as we're having meetings, we're talking about we need to get this done, XYZ, and something at the back of my mind is just saying, are you sure this thing? Should we do this instead? Try, right? And even if you don't have ideas, volunteer. Take the initiative. Do things before you're asked. The goal is not to avoid failure. Please don't spend a lot of your life trying to avoid failure. At work or anywhere else, there's no point. Right? You would fail at certain things. Don't avoid it. Instead, lean into the things you want to do. And even if they don't go as expected, you tried it, you've learned something, now you know. Move forward, right? Bounce back. So for this, I really want to strongly emphasize that whole don't seek safety. And this one for me is very interesting that it is me of all people that is saying it, because yeah, I like safety, right? I like to know what's happening. Like I said, I like to see the end before I start the thing, and know and map out all the ways it can go wrong and what I will do in response before I do the thing. I used to tell my friends, if you see me talking about something, I thought about it for months before. If you see me doing something, I thought about it for months before. So it's interesting that I am the person who is saying, see, don't seek safety. Right? You are going to face challenges that will overwhelm you. You're going to face things that will be bigger than you. The earlier you build your muscle and your heart to be able to take those things, the better. So try at things that you know will not even work, even if it's just for the sheer advantage of knowing how to take a hit and standing up faster. Because a lot of the thing with failure is not the thing that has failed. It is the recovery time and process. A lot of people spend a lot of time down. I don't know if you've ever met anybody who would tell you about the, when you ask them, what's going on, what are you passing through in life? And you're expecting to hear something that happened last week, but you're hearing something that happened 2 years ago. And there are certain things that, look, this thing will take a decade for the person to heal and move on from. We're not talking about those level of things. But there are things you hear and you're like, surely not. That cannot still be the thing that is doing you. But yeah, because that they are valid in that their own recovery and bounce back journey is it just that maybe have been the first time they've ever been hit with a significant, challenge in life. And so you need to give them the time. They need that much time to just be able to process what happened. Can I really recover from this thing? Okay, I want to recover, but how do I recover? Okay, I've done some certain things and I'm feeling much better, but it's not fully lifted yet. So even if not for anything, just to be able to build that ability to get rejected. Oh, I was wrong. Oh, I didn't know everything before I jumped in. I jumped in too early. That ability to be able to quickly spot what went wrong, stand up, recover, learn what you need to learn from it, go back in. I would say it's something one should start building very early in their career. And what's that thing we say? You can't shame the shameless. Yes, that is that. Use that maybe as the hashtag for try and fail forward, because there's a resilience and a confidence in your abilities and a I can't take no for an answer that thing builds in you that makes you truly unstoppable. Okay, so suggest the idea. Papata, you hear no, it's not a good idea. Say okay, no problem. Later on, you can go and meet the person to say, come, why was this thing not a good idea? Because the way I'm saying things, this year, your best idea this year. So what's not a good idea about it? And then the person will tell you it's not a good idea because you don't know that government is doing XYZ. So it's like, remember that time that they banned Okada? And you say no now. But Okada will be poverty elevation. You can give people Okadas. You will lift families out of poverty. People will be able to. This idea is a great idea. But you were not paying attention to the news and you don't know that they want to ban Okada. And so you pitch the idea for poverty elevation in the room where we're talking about how do we elevate poverty and lift people out of poverty because we don't have money to be dashing people, so we have to equip people. And then you later go and say, but these are the reasons why this is such an amazing idea. How come, you're saying this idea is not good? And then you hear the insight you need, or you hear the flaw in your thinking, or you hear this thing is difficult because there are certain stakeholders who cannot be reached. You hear the why, and you're able to take it and incorporate it in the next thing you need to pitch. And you go on and you go on and you go on. And you just get to that point where you're just unstoppable. And what do you want to tell me? What wants to happen? This thing, we can do it. Yeah. Quickly moving on to this. So I said stay competent, right? Let me just quickly go back so that we're reminded of the list that we're working with. Stay competent, own your genius, try and fail forward. And the final thing is manage your boss. And yes, you need to be managing your boss. And with everything I've already said this morning about relationships, and as long as you're working with human beings, relationships are things you just have to master. And the higher you go up in your career, the more it becomes about relationships with your clients, with stakeholders outside of your business, people who have got no business with your business, but if they make a move, it will impact your business, with your team members at the same level, with your team members who report to you, so on and so forth. It just becomes about how well you're able to manage all of those things. And so managing your boss is a part of your job. First of all, you have to think about it like that. And why? Because work happens through human relationships, and that's your key significant relationship. And in managing your boss, you need to be doing these things. You need to be leading with honor. You need to be listening with clean ears. You need to be able to cover their blind spots, and you must be making their life easier. Leaders grow the people they trust. Right? So again, think about your environment. Your boss forms your boss is a significant I must say principality, right, in your work life. And you need for the person to be growing you, because you can't even there's a certain measure of development that you need to pass through as a human being that you can't do without other people. So a lot of times we think, oh, I will figure out what I need, to change about myself. I'll figure out how I need to grow and I'll apply it. But you have your blind spots, you have your limitations. Oftentimes you think you're good until you hear feedback from your closest friends and you're like, okay, we have some work to do here. Oftentimes you are good, but because you are in relationships with people who are dear to you and who love you, you decide, okay, I'm going to show up differently based on what this person needs. And your boss is such a significant mirror for you in your life, as well as a significant signpost to point you to where you need to go, as well as a significant springboard to push you and elevate you. That your relationship with them is very key, and building a certain amount of trust with them is very key. Okay, so do these things. The first thing is that you need to remember that they are human beings. Your boss is not a machine, and so they come with their own things that do human beings, and you must understand that, and you must be working with empathy and wisdom. So for me, the baby steps to honor, empathy, and wisdom. Oh, my boss is being particularly difficult. Empathy and wisdom. And if you have those two things as your watch guard, it's easy to honor them even in the difficult moments, because there will be difficult moments. After all, it's human beings we're dealing with, right? But empathy and wisdom, understand that they have their pressures, they have their own expectations, understand what the expectations are. They have their blind spots as well. They don't know everything. You see this thing that we're talking about, being competent, so that when things are thrown at you, you can respond. That your bosses do that thing times 100. They are constantly facing things they did not plan to face. They did not know they were going to face it. And they just have to be able to respond in the moment. And their response just has to work. It just has to fix whatever the issue is. It has to settle whatever the matter is. Right? So that is also something that will help you honor them. So if I don't think God helping us, nobody will have anybody who's really difficult to work with. But if you truly, truly cannot honor the person, then honor their position. Honor the fact that they are in a position where things are just being thrown at them and they just must be competent to deliver. Yeah? And I speak respectfully at all times. In every word, every interaction, let it reflect your character. It's not about them. It's about your character. Present them well even when they're not present. Do not participate in gossip or disrespect. And this one is such a what's the way to describe it? Everything here is for your own good at the end of the day, right? Because if people know you as the one not to participate in, then they will trust you, because they know that if you do not do it in my front, you will not do it about me at my back. They just know this person is not just this type of person. Yeah. So your trust capital is very important. And these are some of the ways to retain it. I'm intentionally speeding up. And I also think I don't need to really talk a lot about these things here. I think that the things that we need to dwell on, we've dwelt on them. So I'm intentionally speeding up so that I finish up within the time frame and we can have some interaction before we close up the session. So listen with clean ears. And clean ears is a lot of time, even yourself, you've woken up on the wrong side of the bed. It's Friday, you've had an interesting week. You're not in the mood to be hearing anything, but make sure that you are keeping your ears clean at all times. Don't hear through your ego, don't hear through your defensiveness, don't hear through assumptions, don't hear through your tiredness, don't hear through your frustration and stress, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. But every time, listen to understand. Truly, truly. In fact, the more frustrated, tired, etc. you are, the more you should tell yourself, I'm going to just clean my ear. I will just let my ear just be open. Right? And always ask. Ask what they're trying to achieve. Don't assume that you know. Ask. Ask what pressures they are under. Because if you sometimes respond from a place of frustration and pressure, best believe that your boss sometimes is also responding from that place. So always try to understand the person and their drivers. What to solve. So a lot of times and this is we ourselves will also become leaders, right? A lot of times we just come and give the instruction and we don't say the why. When I'm speaking to leaders, I tell them, make sure you always say the why. Don't just come and say, go and do X, Y, Z. Say, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is the impact. This is the outcome. We are going to Ibadan because X, Y, Z. Then tell them, figure out how to take the entire team to Ibadan. But sometimes we just come and say, Ibadan trip, plan it. We have to get there. And they don't know why they are doing it. So conversely, right, twist it apart. If your boss comes to say, this is, blah, 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 and goes away, capture the instruction, yes. But find some time to say, based on what you said, here's what I understand. And this is what I think you're trying to do. And based on that, here's what I think we should do. That assures your manager or whoever you're reporting to that they have somebody who is switched on, has the business's best interest at heart, and has their own best interest at heart, and is ready for work. That makes you valuable. And I wish I could use another word for valuable, but that just makes you valuable. And I'm saying, I'm actually gesturing as I'm saying that thing. I'm saying with a lot of, man, this person has really done something for me. Okay, cover their blind spots. You're not supposed to. Am I still with you? Apologies, because I think my network just tripped off again.
Yeah, we can still hear you, ma.
Okay, great. So cover their blind spots. It's not about becoming a duplicate version of your boss. Again, link this back to owning your genius, right? There are things that your boss would not be able to see that you can see. Cover that blind spot. There are things your boss will miss just because of the sheer how packed their life is. Sort those things out. Just quietly do it, right? Offer them new perspectives, offer them help, offer them advice. That they're the boss doesn't mean they know it all. Offer them advice. Intentionally work on the things that they don't get done so well and do them. Okay, so you can see my matrix here. I'm not going to really dwell on it, but just make the team stronger. Again, it's that whole thing of we cannot all be the same. We should not all be the same. We have different strengths and weaknesses. We have different things to put on the team. Your boss is very much a part of the team. So when you're thinking about the team, think about everybody, including your boss, and say, okay, this is what this person brings to the team. This is what my colleagues at this level bring. This is what I bring. Right? Make their life easier. This one is where you begin to go above and beyond, but do it. Because I mean, if at the very least it will make your life easier. But really what you're aiming at is building a relationship where both parties are exchanging value and both parties are made the better for it. So anticipate their needs, bring solutions, not just problems. This one takes a while to adjust to, because there are times when you think that you are making their life easier, but you're actually bringing more problems. There are times when you think you're communicating and you're being a team player, but all it is that you are outsourcing the thinking to them. So it's quite over time you will not begin to figure out how to bring solutions. Is also the roadblocker I have found is people not knowing that they can take ownership of things, or they can take certain decisions. So things will come back to my table because people think, oh, I'm the only one who can take the decision. It's only one that can take the decision. I don't have the power to decide what happens here. And I say, no, if you can see the problem, then yes, it is well within your authority to decide what happens. If it's a case of something that needs the approval of resources, that can come to me. But don't come to me with the problem. Tell me, this is happening. These are 3 solutions. Here's what it would cost us. And then I can just tell you, okay, option B, and you have the approval. But a lot of times it's oh, I'm coming to you because of this thing and we really need to fix it. And I'm looking at you like, okay, well, yes, first of all, thank you for spotting a challenge in the business. Thank you for bringing it up, but what are we supposed to do? Do you see? Um, so there's quite a bit of ownership that we can take and a lot of decision-making power that we don't realize that we have. But even if of a truth, right, you really honestly can take certain decisions, then present the solution and not the problem. Make sure you're communicating clearly. And communicating clearly is not you thinking you're communicating clearly. Communicating clearly is understanding that person's communication style and language they respond to and language that they don't respond to and communicating accordingly, right? So if you like to explain things a lot, give examples, but you're working with somebody who just wants to hear 1, 2, 3, communicate in 1, 2, 3, not in the style that you prefer. And of course, take ownership. I've mentioned that, right? So if you need to thrive in the workplace and success is a part of that, and success is measured by how many things you get to do well, then when your leader trusts you and when you have a great relationship with your boss because you are managing that relationship, opportunities will find you a whole lot more easier than if you were looking out for them yourself. So here are the resources as mentioned. The things you're good at that you don't value, that's an article by Thomas Rosenberg. The link will be shared with you. And I strongly recommend this book, The Unspoken Rules. I strongly, strongly recommend it. And you can even go ahead to follow him and receive his newsletters. He sends newsletters occasionally. And the Unspoken Rules is just basically around person A and person B start work at the same time, working in the same place. How come person A is successful and person B is not? So he offers a lot more practical insights than I have, that I may have shared in the session today around things you can actually do, even down to when you're in a meeting, what do you do, and things of that nature. For me, I would offer you 2 things to immediately go and implement. I need for you to identify the thought leaders in your industry, your function, the type of organization, however you define your space, go follow them on LinkedIn, right? Begin to curate your environment, start with LinkedIn, and then gradually work your way to all the other ways in which you are exposing yourself. So follow the right voices is the first thing. The second thing is to stay informed. I need for you to identify one well-rounded news source. Well-rounded is not only political. They should be doing social, they should be doing political, they should be doing economic. What else? What other? They should be doing technology, they should be doing legal, well-rounded across all the spheres of life. Find one and commit yourself to a once-a-week session where you say, 1 hour every week, I'm listening to the station. If they have well-curated programs, okay, they do business insights on Monday, they do politics around the world, geopolitics on Tuesday, they do economic insights on Thursday. If they have that structure, then of course commit yourself to at just being present for those things. Over time, what you will find out is that your context is widened. So across everything we've talked about, competence, learning, etc. One of the greatest hindrances to being competent is context. You're smart, you're intelligent, you can learn, you're somebody who any work that is given to you would do well, but your context is limited, right? So do things that widen your context. Again, knowledge, skills, abilities, do things that widen that. Um, do things that build your perspective, not only in giving you different perspectives, but things that make you think everything is possible. because you are literally before your eyes seeing possibilities and do things that make you think better. Okay? So if we link this back to how we started, what kind of professional will you become? What kind of professional do you want to become? What is your vision of Thrive? Okay, so thank you very much. This is the end of the session, and I'm happy to take questions. I'm happy to take reflections. I'm happy to be told, no, see, go back to that point. Do it again, because I didn't get it when you said it. Of course, within the boundaries of time, we don't have a lot of time to spend. But I'm happy for your feedback at this moment. Thank you very much for listening to me.